Okay, so next up we're going to give this one a wash. So we're going to use standard Flooring Models clay wash. Now this is a clay wash, so basically it can't affect anything that's on the model. It's not got like enamel thinners in it or lacquer thinners or acrylics or anything else like that. It's basically water and clay. Again, the great thing about it is it can go over any type of surface you like, but please remember, make sure the surface is completely dried. Now we've just painted this, but it's been in lacquers. So it's really been about half an hour since this one's been done. It's been post shaded. So what we can actually do now is get the actual wash onto this one, right the way over it, and then take it straight off, and it should be absolutely fine. But if you are using something like an enamel paint especially, give it a good few days till it's totally cured. I always say give it the handling test, hold on to it, talk for a minute in your hand. If you take your hand away and it's just nothing, then you're absolutely fine. If you feel it's a little bit sticky, a bit tacky, definitely don't put any of this onto it, because what's going to happen is this will stick to the surface of your model. Also, the other important thing is texture. Now with this particular one, you can probably see, you catch it in the different lights, it's got lots of different textures onto it, which is what we want. So anywhere that's got sort of a flat texture, what's going to happen is it's going to stick to it. It's going to get caught in that texture. Think of it like sanding sticks. Again, you've got this thing where obviously you've got a fine side here and we've got a coarse side. If it's got coarse, it gets caught in that texture, which means you can't wipe it off. If it's obviously a finer side, you can pretty much get it all off of it. It's exactly the same way as it's going to work on here. So what we're going to do is make sure it's had a damn good shake first. Make sure you get the clay all off the bottom and mixed in with the colour. And then what you can do is literally just come along, and I'm just going to put a splodge down on the cutting mat, just like that. And then what we're going to do, we'll start on the bottom. We're just going to grab our brush, and then we're just going to mix it straight in and brush it absolutely everywhere on the model. So we don't need to use different colours, because the dark dirt is a great colour for anything like this. So we can go through, we're going to go in, we're going to do wheel wells, we're going to do absolutely everywhere with this. So it's great. It's safe as well, completely over clear parts. So if you want to put it onto windows and stuff like that, you have no problems at all. All right. So we just come straight over here, down onto here, and then around the back. But what you do want to do is make sure you go absolutely everywhere. If you don't go everywhere, what will happen is it will get caught, and it will give you a clean part. So everywhere else have a nice grimy texture and a dirty look to it, but what will happen is your area where you haven't done it will end up with a clean bit, and that's definitely not what you want. So what we do is just going to pop this all the way down in here, and then across here, and again going right over decals. So hopefully you've sealed your decals in beforehand, because you don't want it obviously getting under the carrier film and then dirtying and getting caught and stuck. So make sure that your decals are sealed, or at least they're down very, very firm. So we're just going to go right under here, right on here, and then what we'll do is get straight over onto this wing. I can hold it with this wing, and all you do is just work it in. If you find that it beads up and it's not really getting down into the actual panel lines and that, so it's just sort of sitting on the surface, you can add a drop or two of washing up liquid or detergent just down onto it, just to help break the surface tension, and then that way it should sit quite smoothly on the surface of your model like this. So we're just going to go around on up here again. Before going over your clear parts is absolutely fine and safe. This, you can see how quick and easy it is just to pop this right the way over absolutely everything. But say make sure no area is left clean, because otherwise it can be a little bit of a thing, because it just looks odd having a clean panel. And again, same way, if you wanted to have a clean spot, just don't do it. Just don't put any of the wash onto it. There we go, let's just work our way around here. And last up, we just flip under here, finish off. The fronts, and again, around everywhere. Anywhere obviously you don't want it, so you didn't want it down intakes and stuff. That's the great thing about putting it on with a brush, because you can tell exactly where you're going. And again, if you don't get every single part, it's not the end of the world, because what will happen is the actual wash will be transferred. As you're wiping it off, it'll probably go round everywhere. And just a couple more drops. So this will take roughly around about 20 minutes to half an hour to dry at sort of room temperatures. And then again, it's that thing where if obviously it's pretty cold, it might take a little bit longer, but fear not, you can actually leave this if you wanted to for a good few days, month, even a year, for it to totally dry. When it's dried out, all you're going to be doing is rehydrating it to actually get it off. So it's not a mass worry if you were to leave it on. If that phone rings or something else like that, or you can't get to it till the next day, then really it's not a problem. So that's that done. Again, same time I would do everything else. So for instance, down in here we'll do the spinner, and if you want to do the props and all these areas all at the same time, you can. Do your gear, do your flaps, do your doors, and all the other areas as well, just so it's all at that same tone. And also, it's nothing worse when you've got to go round and redo everything because you forgot a part. So here we go, we just got that one last bit just here. And if you wanted to, you can mix the colours. They're all completely mixable. You can actually, if you wanted to, change them out, swap them out, just overcoat it, and away you go. Make sure you do the leading edges of your wings. That's it, so it can go in. So what we're going to do, we're going to let that dry for around about half an hour, and then we'll come back, we'll whip that off and see what we've got. Okay, so wash completely dry. It's been about an hour or so since I put it on, but as you can see, it gives a very nice matte finish right the way over it. Okay, so each time you paint a model, each time you put a top coat over it before the wash, it's going to be slightly different. So what I always do is take a paper towel and just test an area to see how easily, or perhaps it's not, it's going to come off. So you want to pick somewhere that you know is going to be, pretty much a standard area. So from our point of view, we will grab it. It's a little bit wet underneath, just down in here. And we're going to do a center of a wing and give it a rub. And as you can see, it's not really coming away. It is, and if you kept going at it, you could actually give a very nice technique. But what we're looking for from this one is to have quite a cleanish look, shall we say. So if you wanted something really dirty, you could actually do this. You could sand it off. There's lots of different options out there. But from our point of view, what we're going to do is have quite a clean look. So we're going to add then a little bit of moisture. So the moisture rehydrates the clay. Because don't forget, the clay, when it's dry, is pretty tough stuff. You're not really going to rub any of this off. But obviously, as soon as you add moisture to it, it's a bit like ketchup on your plate. It's that thing. It hydrates it, just slips straight off your plate. If it's, trying to get it off normally, it makes a bit of a mess. So, wet the cloth, back of the hand. Then all we do is circular motions, and we put it on. And as you can see, it's gripping quite tightly. But again, this is part of what's going on in here. If we take a little bit of a closer look, you can see that we've got the post shading, the actual post shading of the light work is giving us that type of effect. So we'll wet the cloth again, and we're just going to do slight circle motions, and we're going to work our way right over. And as you can see now, this is what we're talking about with that shadow effect and the lighting effect and everything else coming in one to give us a nice grimy look. If we go over the decal, you'll see that it comes off pretty easily, no problem at all. But because again, we haven't got any paint on top of here, it's all down in these areas. So this is the great thing, this is what we're talking about. It's the difference between the texture on the actual wing itself. So where we had the base area down there, it was pretty much like the decal, it's going to come off. But now we've added a little bit of texture with these areas. It's going to take a little bit more to get it off, which is great because it will give us a nicer complexity to work with. And hopefully you can see how it's going to work now. And all these things we were talking about, we've actually giving it that effect. So now we've got some shadowing on here of these panel lines all in this and things. You can see now it's really starting to bite and to come to life. So it's what we were talking about, where it's not just one layer, it's all of these layers are coming together to sort of recreate a really nice worn wing. And now hopefully you can see what we were talking about of what we're trying to achieve. So we're not trying to take off all of the wash, we're trying to leave a little bit behind because we want it to be nice and grimy. So when you're rubbing around, just keep rubbing absolutely everywhere and you'll leave a fine line of grimy dirt right the way over this. So as you can see now what we're looking at. So again, if we step out to the wider look for the overall effect, you can see this type of dirt and grime now and how it's working with this lighter area. By the time we come along with our final one of putting the sort of the middle sections into this, these areas at the front looking a little bit harsh will blend in all together. So what we do, we just continue. I'm just going to keep going, and again, circular motions, work it all nicely in to your leading edges and trailing edges of the wings as well. And again, we'll just work on the sides of the fuselages. And again, the great thing about this, hopefully we'll start to see this, is that all that grime and stuff will now get caught up into the actual markings. And again, if the cloth's really dirty, don't worry about it, because you're going to be griming it all around, and that's what we want. And now hopefully you can see how it works in, and it's actually coming into these decals and making technically those blend in nicely now with the rest of the model. So again, don't make it too wet. We just want to keep it all nicely grimy right the way through. So what we're going to do is continue to take all this off, and if we go down one side, you can see, so you can see how I'm not swapping out the cloth or your tissue with a nice fresh bit, because we want to leave this on to be dirty and grimy. And then hopefully you can see now how it's starting to all come together. And again, there's one more stage after this which is sort of really brings it all together. But there we go. So now you can see hopefully how we've worked all of this in to give us technically what is a very nice grimy effect now just down on there. So you can see we've got a wing on and a wing done, and it really all of a sudden it's like bang, there it is. That's exactly what we're after. So under here, to be honest, we're still a little bit wet in the middle, but we were not worried about that. So we're going to take a cloth again, and then what we'll do is dry our hands. Remember, the only thing you have to worry about, if you've got wet hands and then you put it onto an area like, you know, like that's just dry, you will wipe it away. So make sure you've got dry hands and you're only wetting the areas you want, all right? So what we'll do is, same thing under here, giving it a rub. You can see you could wear this down really slowly to give you any type of weathering look you want. But what we're going to do is obviously wet it a little bit, activate it almost, and then, to be honest, we're just going to come in now and rub and wear all of this in. But again, grab some of the stuff, and when it gets dirty on here, you can grime it around that entire surface and give you a really nice worn look to your model. So that's working now with the, you say, the highlighted area, now with that proper dark shadow. It just sort of blends it all together, you know, to give you that really nice look to it. So we just continue this right the way over. Now this is obviously in the center section is a little bit wet, so we're just going to go over, and then what we'll do is we'll pick up some grime. You can see how we've wiped it out. That's the trouble when it's wet. But if we go around to other areas which are dry, then you'll notice we can actually pick up some of the grime and dirt from those areas, and then we'll come back and put it in the middle. So again, we're just going to pop down the back here, around those tail planes on the rear. And again, to start with, you can just get it working a little bit, just rub a little bit off, and then obviously you can come back at it as you're making your way through, you know. So that's the thing. So again, what we're going to do, flip the cloth over, and we're just going to go along. We're just going to wear that all in. And we're going to wear that all in. And again, work our way up, and then we're just going to come over here to this wing. Again, rubbing it all back. And hopefully we'll pick up a nice amount of dirt and grime here, and then we can start going over this midsection again. This area around the front, just down in here. And those flaps. And again, you can leave it really grimy, a little bit like we're doing here, or if you wanted to, you can really start to, you know, polish it up almost, just so it's literally just rivets, panel lining, so no real dirt or grime around it. When you get tight little areas like intakes and things like this, then you might want to pop in here with a cotton bud or something just to help tidy it up. All right the way over. But hopefully you'll see how it's really coming together. And again, quick wipe everywhere, leading edges, trailing edges, all your edges. A little bit just around in here on the front. And then again, we'll work our way down this side of the fuselage. A little bit. I often bash it on the back of my hand. You'll see me, I'll sort of lick the tissue and brush it just to take a little bit of the moisture off, because you don't want too much, because otherwise what happens is you literally end up taking it all off straight away. So again, just down in all these areas, down this back, all around the tail and rudders. And again then, you can just pop back in, clean cloth. Just wet the cloth a little bit. Going with direction of airflow now. So literally just pulling it backwards, just so it has that effect of streaking, and any leftover grime and dirt in these panel lines and things like that will just get dragged off. The ones in the wheel wells, obviously, then you can just come in with a cotton bud just to liven those up just a little bit. Just a bit in here. Underneath this centre section, we're going to add further weathering anyway, so I'm actually not worried about this, because we're going to put some oil and various horrible things in that. So again, and there we go. You can see how it's sort of, the dirt and grime hopefully is all now working together onto this one. So again, same thing, just down in here. And then obviously we've just got this wing to do. So again, first pass just starts to activate the clay. And then you can just go round it. Again, you can leave as much or as little on there. So you can see here we've left on quite a lot just down in here. But again, if you wanted to, you can take it off a bit. So we'll just do the front and rears. A little bit more moisture just down into this. And then just going to run right over it. And there you have it. Hopefully you can see how it's all really come back. You know, so this one just going in here. Bits around the tails, on the rudders. Like we always say, keeps it all nice and safe. And there is our weathered down Spitfire, looking very much the part. And that's it. So you've still got all of that great weathering showing through. Very straightforward, very nice and easy. So the same thing goes for the other areas. So just down in here, we've got the, obviously the flaps. So we just wipe off the ones on that side, and then just down in here. And this gives a nice bit of grime inside those, the mechanics of the flaps, same thing. And then again, exactly the same on the prop. With the prop, again, you can just have it really dirty, so, or you could have it quite clean. It's literally exactly what you want it to be, but hopefully you can see how it will show all those nice rivets. And again, you get amongst it with a cotton bud, which is probably the easiest way than it is messing around like this, but hey ho. So that's all in there, just do the backs. Yes. And again, you want it to be grimy and dirty because that's why we're weathering it. That's on there, so if we want to pop him on the front again, and there we go. We have one, move all the dirt, very nice weathered in Spitfire. So very happy with that. Okay, so next up with us is oils. So what we're going to do, we'll just clear this away and then we're going to come in with some neat oil paints just to add some more weathering and that next layer just onto this one to highlight some of the panel lines, some of the exhaust staining and things like that as well to really make it pop.